Feel free to put in the chat what you're looking forward to in this session or what brings you here to this one today.
Hello, humans. Who's here to party? Natalie again. Hey, Natalie. Oh, very few people. That's interesting. I'm surprised by that. We'll see. We've still got a bit of time. Yeah. If you want to do what I'm doing and change your name to include your location, there's some interesting cultural stuff around this, so that can be pretty interesting. Ukraine is not Germany, it's not Wales, it's not Greece for sure. When it comes to money stuff. Cool. Woo, just run out of Georgian food. I like Georgian food. You ever have Georgian food? Stalin said dark humor is like food. Not everyone gets it. That's one of my favorite Georgian jokes. Apologies to the Ukrainians here. So. Stalin is Georgia's famous export, but the food's very good. They have something called khachapuri, which I call communist pizza, but it's not quite pizza. Munich is a wealthy town, I've been told. Nottingham, how rich is where you are? Depends what you're comparing it to, doesn't it? Wales. Where in Wales are you, Jodie? Wales.
I'm in a beautiful place called Pembrokeshire.
Pembrokeshire is beautiful. People go on holiday there.
Yes.
Place. Is it rich or poor?
It's getting very rich now.
Getting rich? What from?
Well, everyone's coming in from England, buying the property, so property places are
damn English people buying up, and no one wants to live in London anymore because they can all work on Zoom.
Exactly.
Yes, change. We have to start in a minute, JD, but that is interesting to hear. Nice to see you again. Okay, Paula and Craig. I'm going to guess which one's which. Ellen. Hey, Ellen, nice to see you again in Sweden.
And we're on time with that. So.
Let's do it.
Okay, so hello and welcome to this session on trauma and money, or how trauma keeps you poor. And with us is Mr. Embodiment, Mark Walsh, who's worked in war zones. He's been traumatized. He has been sober for 14 years, and he knows a fair few things about trauma. And I think he knows a fair few things about money as well. And I'll be tech hosting, so if you have any Zoom issues, private message me in the chat. This is the last day we're going live, but you can still catch replays. There is still time to get that precious all access pass, so you can get in the Zoom room with us, ask us questions. We have Q&A after this is over.
And also, so you can see the replays all weekend of everything. That's the best reason to get it today.
And do you want to speak quickly about the course just before we start?
Yeah, we got courses. Obviously, it's the last day of this. What we do is we do free stuff because A, it's great marketing. No shame in that. B, it also means that people that can't afford the trauma work get it because we want that. So there's two reasons we do it. And we have courses where people can go a bit deeper. Cheap one with the land, deliberately made it really cheap. Why do we do that? To make it accessible to everyone. That is one way of healing your trauma, one method. So if you have some trauma, you want to work with it, I like Kelan. I trust her a lot, and that's pretty accessible. If you're kind of more like, hey, I'm not like deep in trauma, but I've actually maybe still got some neurotic patterns, and you want to move to the superpowers, which I think has been one of the more popular things here, and you want time to ask some Q&A, have a bit more content, a bit more breadth and depth to it. The superpowers is one I think a lot of people are interested in. And actually the one that's doing really well at the moment is this last one, because I think as the groups, so my group is almost full up, but there are 4 different tutors to choose from. Patricia, Jane and Alan, is it, I believe, or Erica. And in that is all the superpower stuff, and basically everything, just loads of stuff on trauma. And if you're helping other people, that's really useful because you can have the library with all the different patterns, because we're all fucked up in different ways. Okay, so they're there, and I don't want to plug those again till the end. I want to get on with the session. So this session will probably be quite triggering, right? Most of us have issues around money, whether we're traumatized or not in this area. A lot of people have connections in this area that aren't obvious. So do be prepared. There might be a bit of triggering. I probably will speak very quickly. If you want me to slow down, use the slow down gesture. And hopefully you haven't overdosed on trauma stuff yet. It's the end of the week, so maybe just take a moment to check in with yourself. Like, am I really up for this? Is this going to be too much? All right. Can I see a few more people on camera? I know it's I don't mind if you're in your pajamas or if you're in your garden or something. It's really nice when I teach to be able to see a few people, to kind of be able to interact and get a sense of how things are landing. Thank you, Laura. Thank you, Susie. Thank you, everyone who's here. Nice to see you all again. Interestingly, this is one of the smallest turnouts I've seen of this entire thing. Now, it could be because it's Saturday morning, but actually we just did 2 that had more people in. I think that's really interesting, and in and of itself says something. That's also a little bit strange because most of my mates are constantly complaining about money, usually not having too much money, usually being broke. Okay, because my friends are nice hippies, and most of them are skin. Not all of them, but most of them. That's interesting. What does that have to do with trauma? We will discover over the next 25 minutes. Cool. Let me check in with you guys. Who has enough money by wave? Just notice your response. Is it like definitely, or is it like I never have enough? I know oligarchs here in Russia who don't have enough money, right? Because the sense of enough is part of the sense of being safe. Yeah, this can express in different ways, like enough knowledge, have to watch every single session, have to take copious notes. I see that a lot in Russia when I'm teaching. Yeah, enough sex, enough love, enough whatever. But trauma is whatever damages our sense of safety. So there's overwhelm, stuck in that fight flight. That's trauma. Sense of safety is damaged. One of the ways that it's damaged is expressing as enough. Okay, particularly things that are existentially themed. Trauma is an existential threat. Even if it's not really, it feels like it is. Yeah. So, for example, if the parents leave from the child, he feel like he's going to get abandoned, he's going to die, even if they just popped out of the house for an hour. Yeah. So it's the subjective sense of overwhelm and existential threat that's important, not objectively what's going on, which is why we all have some trauma. One would therefore expect trauma to show up in areas that are connected to survival. So we've had sessions on food, for example, like in Russian, maybe Natalie can confirm this, food is jest. And the verb to be, and guess what it is? Jest, it's the same verb. Okay, so yes means is there food? Yeah, so that's very strange, but not really, because food is essential to our being, to our survival. So if you have issues around your self-esteem, who you are, your sense of safety, you're probably going to have some food issues, right? Does this make sense? Stuff around violence, of course, right? How you relate to power. Trauma is a form of powerlessness. So when one is overpowered, yeah, one compensates, one learns to handle that in different ways through the powerlessness. And this is a positive thing. Yeah, it's positive to have some adaptation. We did a session for control freaks, or as Daniela calls them, control enthusiasts earlier. So this is one of many patterns, which is why we have so many sessions, because there's so many ways this can show up. One is to be super controlling, yeah, like Daniela. The other one is to be like me, completely like, fuck it, everything's fine, it'll be right. Both plus or minus on any pattern can be a trauma pattern. The key thing, it's a distortion from reality. It stops being a choice and becomes a compulsion. When you're a hammer, everything's a nail. Yeah. So this is how trauma works. It's not that it's bad, it's good. Daniela's wonderfully controlling. I'm wonderfully don't give a fuck. However, if we take that wonderful survival adaptation to everything, not so good. Yeah. Not so good, and it destroys our freedom, our happiness, and our response appropriately. Okay, what's all this got to do with money? I'm deliberately setting up the conditions around it so you can see what money has in common. Yeah, so money is a form of power. True or not true? If you ever tried to get into first class without it, you'll know it is. Okay, you are literally barred. You're not allowed in. It's a form of power. It's also connected, at least in people's minds, existentially. Yeah, money is survival. To some people, money's connected to love, isn't it? Who got pocket money? My granddad would always like slip me a tenner when my mum wasn't looking, which gave me the message: money's love, but also money is secret. You shouldn't be too, explicit. Americans like, how much do you earn, buddy? I'm like, it's none of your business. I'm English, right? There's cultural factors here. My Jewish friends are not my Irish friends, are not my black friends, are not my, etc. Russia has issues around money that are different, blah, blah, blah. Cultural factors. So if you ask someone the question, I'm going to ask you a question, just whatever the first thing comes to mind is. I'm going to say this question, just type in the chat. You all ready? Money is. Go. I did this on a workshop years ago about the psychology of money. Filth is the first word. Okay. Oh, disgusting. If you grew up in you've got a Buddhist name, right? But you grew up in a Christian framework, Christian society, even if it's not everyone's Christian there. It's easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven. Or Buddhist monks, Theravada monks, they ain't got no cash, has they? They ain't got nothing. Yeah. So the idea is like, sorry, that's my British working class impersonation. Okay, ain't got nothing, mate. So the idea there is it's more spiritual to not have money. Does anyone got that illusion? Yeah, we'll smash that today with a gold-plated ham. I was going to be eating caviar during this session, but I actually had enough to eat at lunch, so I don't want to waste the last bit of my caviar I've got in the fridge, which is not that expensive. Money is dangerous, right? Maybe people want it. Imagine you grew up in a communist country or an ex-communist country. Do you know what happened in the 20th century if you had money? Or even if you had an extra fucking cow, right? You were a kulak in the Ukraine and the other peasants were jealous, so they got you killed. People had quotas for killing rich people. Yeah, Stalin would send people off with a kill quota. And they go, well, he's a slightly richer peasant, so kill him. Yeah, it's fucked up. Know your history. If you don't know what the Holodomor was, Natalie can probably tell you all about it. You should know your history. And that way, you won't be such a little bunch of communists in the modern world. Okay, money is abuse, a right fucking pain. Right, why would you get money if it's a right fucking pain? Think about it. If money makes you less spiritual, why would you get that? Now, here's the thought. Does money make you a better or worse person? Logically, most of us would probably say, well, I've worked with the poorest people in the world in the favela slums of Brazil, Africa. And I've worked with some of the richest people in Switzerland and in corporations and oligarchs. And, there's nice ones, there's not nice ones. I'm meeting a really nice billionaire for lunch on Monday. Okay, he's a lovely guy. Yeah. And I also know some proper arsehole rich people here in Moscow. So there's a spread, right? But intuitively in your body, does it make you better or worse? Or does it make you more or less safe? Because money issues around trauma can look like hoarding money, can look like constantly trying to get money, because that's the way to keep safe, right? I know some rich people who are actually just constantly not satisfied. Trauma is like an addiction, right? Whether it's plus or minus. Got to have money. That's the only way you can have self-esteem. Can't be seen as poor. There's no freedom in that. There's no freedom in that. Yeah, money's not important. You hear that again and again and again, except it kind of is, right? It kind of is, because if you don't have it, you can't eat and stuff. And maybe you could eat, but you'd have to, it's like money doesn't buy everything. That's true. Money can't buy the love of my Bene Gesserit witch wife. Yes, Duke Walsh Atreides here. Money can't buy love. Money can't buy certain things. But I tell you what, it can buy a better school for your kids. It can buy perhaps a better hospital, depending on what country you're in. It can buy you a less stressful lift to the airport. That's what I spend money on, reducing my stress. Yeah, saving time. Money can buy quite a lot. And honestly, there's very few problems that get worse with money. There are some, like jealousy of other people. I grew up pretty poor and I had sort of some money the last 10 years. In the last couple of years, like I'm probably I'm definitely in the top tax bracket for the UK, which I didn't know existed until recently. because no one in my family was in it. I was like, how much? What percentage? Fuck you. I had no idea. Right? I'm absolutely outraged by this. I don't mind making more money, but more of a percentage? Outrageous. Yeah. So this is how not wealthy my family was, growing up. We just didn't know about stuff like that. Yeah. So, great. How much money should I have for me to be a good person? Ooh. Like if I were to like get out my phone and get out my Barclays app and show you, like what would be like too much or too little? What would be like the perfect amount for me to have in my bank account? Now, obviously it's not, there's assets and my company's worth a bunch and we're going to make a bunch of money next week after having just spent 100 grand on this event. So it's like, it comes and goes, but generally what would be, see if you can put a figure on it. To pay all that I need. Need's a funny word, isn't it? Do I need the caviar in my fridge? It's lovely. It's only 30 quid here. It's the orange stuff anyway, not the black stuff. It's 200 quid. Accidentally got the black caviar in a restaurant the other day. I thought I was mistranslating the rubles. I thought it was 20 pounds. It was 200 pounds. I was like, oops, tasted nice. Yeah. Enough to live comfortably. I would like that for everyone. It's not a number. No, it's a feeling for most people. And again, with trauma, that feeling of scarcity can be there, can't it? Not only can it be there, it can be comfortable. So I want to be very clear. I'm not saying everyone that's poor, it's their fault, particularly if you live in the Sudan or somewhere like that. I've worked in Sierra Leone. I've lived in Ethiopia. I know this more than you, very likely. There are people who are poor, absolutely no fault of their own. It's what they were born into, and it was bloody hard to get out of. Of course, we are born into social conditions, in London or in Sweden, wherever as well. This is reality. This does exist. External world, economics, social conditions. I would love a world where everyone has enough, for sure. So I want to acknowledge that. And this is an and, so don't get triggered. Don't get upset. Okay. Not the evil capitalist Mark who's telling you that poor people, it's their fault. This isn't some weird Victorian moral speech. Yeah. And psychologically, I noticed some of my very talented friends seem to stay poor. That's interesting. Why do they stay poor when they've got loads of talent and pretty good opportunities? All right. They've got basic well-being. They're not a single mum in Chad. Yeah. Maybe it's something to do with their behavior. Controversial. Again, before you think I'm evil Mark the Tory boy, I would like you to consider that perhaps we stay comfortable. We get used to a certain thing. Yeah, and part of this is education. Like if I wanted to get kids out of poverty in London, I'd teach entrepreneurship, right? And so I just don't know stuff that my cousin got taught growing up, because I've got one rich cousin, dad's in the military, and ended up getting some money, only one in our family. He just knows stuff I don't know. I phone him up. I'm like, what's a mortgage? How does that work? Yeah, or whatever it is. He's like, oh, you can borrow money at this percentage interest and then do this. I'm like, wow, cool. Yeah. He's like, you put your money in what account? I'm like, I don't know. Is there an alternative? He's like, yes, give it to me. I'll send it to the Seychelles. So partly this is education, but there's also the psychology. So if you think you don't deserve money, for example, right? So why might you think that if you've been traumatized? Well, because one of the things that people do to make sense when they have trauma is they say, well, it's my fault, so I must be a bad person. I've heard people say that when it clearly wasn't their fault, because they were a child when it happened. Clearly wasn't their fault. But on a logical level, they somehow took it on that they were worthless or they didn't have value. That's part of the meaning making that can happen with trauma. So why would you get wealthy if you think of yourself as a bad person? Why would you reward yourself? Doesn't make sense, right? So of course you might find a way to stay poor. It's almost like self-punishment, yeah? Or maybe it's just sort of like, well, you know what, the world's hard, but I'm more spiritually pure, and that's reliant upon me being poor. Yeah? So the way this works in England is if you're poor, you can take the piss out of rich people, but they can't take the piss back. Yeah? There's a certain sort of class structure to it. There's a certain kind of compensation you get given. It's kind of like a comedy compensation and a righteousness, there's this kind of element to it. So maybe it's tied up with that. But equally, it could be the other way, right? Like, I don't feel safe unless I have loads of money. Like, how much money would have to be in your bank account until you felt safe? It's different amounts, isn't it, for different people? You know, I noticed years ago when my business was getting set up, I'd always be at my overdraft, even though I'd make quite a lot of money. And I'd still be at my overdraft limit. I talked to my business advisor and she said, why are you always at your overdraft limit? Why don't you just, get to zero and then you won't have to pay interest on that and you feel safer and more comfortable? And ultimately, I really looked at it and went, oh, I'm used to being in an emergency mode. I'm used to being that's a war zone feeling, right? Life and death, down to your last few pennies. So no matter how much money I made, I'd always get back to that. That happens, by the way, when people win the lottery. So now in Britain, when you win the lottery, they give you a psychologist before they give you the money, because they had so many bad cases of lottery winners fucking themselves up and losing all their money. Because they're like, if you've got an identity built around poverty, if you don't have the skills as well, there's that. If you don't have the mindset of being able to work with it. And some of that is, how can I put this? Working with money, being able to make, manage, and be generous. There's 3 skills: make, manage, and be generous with money, spend money. Those 3 skills are self-care. They are self-care. Okay, being able to make money is self-care. It's like some of my friends are so talented at what they do, whether it's yoga or therapy or whatever. I'm like, just do like a basic marketing course, read a few books, and you'll be fucking rich. Yeah, but they don't ever do it. And I'm like, why not? It's not a big time investment. Like, you don't have to be amazing at marketing. Like in embodiment, people are like, oh my God, Mark, you're so amazing at marketing. No, I am average. The rest of you people are rubbish. Okay. Like, compared to my business colleagues, they're like, yeah, you're not that great. It's just that I work in a field where the standard is so low. Yeah. And yeah, our marketing is playful, and I hope it's ethical, and I hope we only sell stuff that we know is good stuff, and we still try and give away a lot of free to make access to people who can't afford it. And like, even with all that, I get loads of haters. People like, how dare you make money from the embodiment conference? I'm like, okay. First of all, I worked really hard for about 10 years to get there. Okay. Second of all, I paid my team well. Okay. Everyone got paid nearly double what we were going to originally pay them. I'm not being tight. Right. Thirdly, I took a crazy risk. Yeah. And it's like, yeah, I made some money. So what? Right. I'm not going to apologize for that. No, fuck you. So mindset is a key thing here. And trauma can do funny things to that. Equally, you might be tight, right? You're not able to give. I hope one of my traits is not just making money, but also being generous. And maybe Virginia, who's been around me for a while, could confirm I tend not to be too tight. We help people's medical bills for their cats, don't we? And various other things to try and be generous. And that is a skill, because generosity is also self-care. Why? Because if you can spend money on yourself, you look after yourself. But also helping other people feels good. Generosity is one of the best things you can do for your mental health. That's why Buddhists are so big on it. Yeah, that and the monasteries need free shit. Yeah, but also because it's incredibly good for you. It's incredibly good for your generosity. So it's not the ability to make money, give it away or spend it, and manage money. Manage money is like my least good thing. So I employ slightly more uptight people with Excel spreadsheets that help me. You know, whenever we run out of money, I'm just like, I will go make more. Don't worry about it. I'll do something. So yes, they are the self-care skills. Being rubbish with money is a form of self-abuse. Now let that sink in. Okay. So I didn't say being poor, because sometimes people are just, they're born poor, they're in Bangladesh, whatever. Right. But being rubbish with money, when you could get some education around it, you could get some skills around it that are available at community college free of charge or in books and on the internet, is a form of self-abuse. Okay. Just as being stingy, do you know this word? Tight, being in scarcity, whether you're an oligarch or living on a council estate, is also a form of self-abuse. So one of the wonderful things that comes with trauma healing is a sense of enough. I don't have to fight for my life. I don't have to fight for the pennies. I can be generous. I can make the money. Money is a form of power. Who do you want to have power in the world well, I think it'd be quite nice if it's spread out. That'd be great, right? Not just concentrated. But it would also be quite nice if it was in the hands of people who perhaps had ethics and spirituality and these kind of things. Yeah. So I would say it's unethical to keep yourself poor when there's an option, because that's giving power to less ethical people. Yeah. Not marketing is evil, is what I say in my ethical marketing workshops. My logic is sound. I'm terribly sorry if you're from a nasty communist country like Sweden and you're just realizing that this is the case. Yeah, I'm teasing Ellen a little bit there. So yes, I have a Ukrainian wife, so we're not very fond of communists in my household because they killed half our fucking family. Yeah, so a little bit of trauma there. Anyway, how does that land? Like staying poor is a form of self-abuse, right? Yeah. Given all the societal stuff, the inequalities, blah, 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 not ignoring any of that. And I'm not saying if you're poor, it's your fault. I'm saying it is our responsibility to heal our trauma and reclaim power. What power? Physical power. Someone's abused you physically, learn a martial art. Okay? If you feel like you're abused by someone rich and therefore you're like, no, seriously, learn a martial art. Someone's abused you physically. Don't be a victim. Don't just feel good. Become safe. This is Paul Linden's work. Yeah. So if money's a form of power. So let's reclaim some power. For me, that's what trauma healing is. It's reclaiming power. And again, some of your trauma skills can become superpowers financially. Yeah. My drive started off as hyperarousal, and then I took the edge off it and added a bit of ventral vagal stimulation to the sympathetic. That drive is great for a CEO. Okay, I work fairly hard, Virginia. Is that fair to say? I have a drive. Yeah, but equally creativity. When you're stuck in fight flight, you can't be creative. Marketing is all creativity. I'm just constantly coming up with ideas. My marketing team hate it. They're like, stop giving us good ideas. Yeah. They have to like ban me from the meetings because I just give them too many good ideas. That's creativity. When you're in fight or flight, you can't be creative. Trauma is a barrier to that kind of long-term thinking. I have a 10-year plan for the business. 10-year plan. You can't do that if you're in fight or flight. You're just in emergency mode. Yeah. You should see the plan. People are like, the embodiment conference was amazing. I was like, that was stage one. Okay. Playing into the role of the evil millionaire. Alrighty, not a millionaire just yet. Just play safe, reclaim power. Pages and pages of ideas. Yeah, ideas aren't the only thing, Ileana. Ideas are the first thing. The courage to act upon ideas is another thing that can help with the heat trauma healing can help. Yeah. What are your trauma superpowers? You've been around this week. What are some of your trauma superpowers? If you've found that notion already, let's see if they apply to the financial world. Never thought of the future. Yeah, it's a really big one because when you're in emergency mode, when the house is on fire, you don't think, what am I doing next week? You just think, I've got to get out of the fucking house, right? Yeah. Efficiency and productivity. Yeah, that can be like a trauma pattern of I have to be perfect. I have to do things really well. Yeah, that can be amazing once you take the edge off it. You get what I mean by take the edge off it. You turn it into a choice, not a have to. That's what trauma growth is. Yeah, stops being compulsive. Curiosity, absolutely. Socializing, yeah. If part of your trauma pattern is a fawn response, anyone got a fawn response, like being nice to people and being charming, and like women often particularly have this, okay, that's a fucking great sales skill. Okay, if you meet someone that works in sales, the most important sales skill is being able to listen and connect. People buy from people they like. Yeah. So if you've got the ability to be likable, I'm not great at that. I'm quite disagreeable. Okay. I'm pretty a mixed bag with people. So if you've got that ability to be super likable, to connect and to listen, marketing's all listening, by the way. So what does a customer want? Do you see us on Facebook doing polls all the time? We're like, what do you want? What do you need? Do you like this? Do you like that? It's us listening to you guys. So we can sell you stuff better. And we're like, here's 5 titles. Which do you prefer? Yeah. So constantly listening to the customer. So if that's part of your superpower, being nice, good news. Okay, once you learn to also be nice to yourself. Yeah, the Dalai Lama said, if your kindness does not include yourself, including getting paid in it, okay, then it's not complete. So your kindness needs to include looking after yourself financially as well as physically and emotionally. Does that make sense? We learn through trauma healing to look after ourselves with our boundaries around money, right? No, this is my limit. I won't pay more. Yeah. Being able to ask someone, say, your best price, can you do better than that? Yeah. It's quite easy. Cool. Dropping one-liners. Yeah, lots of money mic drops today. This is one of the most underlooked at areas of trauma. The only people in the world looking at it are Jane Clapp and myself, I believe. For some reason, therapists don't like money or don't do money or try and ignore it or something. So very few people are looking at this topic. And I think if you're interested in empowering traumatized populations, which I am, this is a huge topic. Like I'm working with the gay community here in Moscow. He talks to the lesbians. I've been doing that for years and years and years. And I'm like the sort of weird British hero of the lesbian community in Moscow. And I asked them last year, I said, look, you've done most of my workshops. I've done stress, I've done trauma, I've done empowerment. What do you want to workshop on? And they all said money. And I went, oh, that's interesting. Why is that? Why would being a Russian lesbian be connected to being poor? That's strange. And then I realized it was a form of disempowerment. It was a form of self-abuse. And that's why so many of that community had issues with money, which isn't the case, say, for the gay community in Brighton, not nearly as much, because the community is way more traumatized because of, you can understand the situation. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. The desire to help others. No, it's not. The only way you can make money is by helping others. That's the sweet beauty of capitalism. Okay, the only way I will give you money is if you give me some value, right? Like you're not going to buy a land's course out of the goodness of your heart. You're going to buy it because you think it's going to help you. So reframe, like help the most people you can, you will make more money. If they don't have any money, someone else will pay for it. That's called a government or a grant. Yeah, there's lots of ways to get money, but you have to help someone, or else why would they give you money? Or why would the charity pay for you to do it? Does it make sense? That's the beauty of the system we're in. It has its horrors, but that's the beauty. Okay, so we all love capitalism. We're all going to wear Armani suits, drive Ferraris, and heal our trauma while eating caviar. Agreed? Shake hands. Yay. No, you don't have to drive a Ferrari. I fucking kill myself if I had a Ferrari. I don't have a car at all. So you don't have to look flash. You don't have to be a wanker. You don't have to be ungenerous. In fact, the billionaire dude I'm meeting on Monday founded a big robotics thing and just helped loads of young Russians learn about robotics and really helped the economy and all sorts of things, right? Out of generosity. Okay, Alona Ripa. There's a Ripa Center here in Moscow. It's a Buddhist center. Oh, I could dance in contact improv there. Nothing at all I'm saying is now relevant. What was your takeaway from today? Something useful you want to write in the chat so we can meme it and you can remember it yourself. Okay. Of course, if you do want to buy stuff, I still have that little bit inside me that says, you shouldn't sell people stuff. That makes you bad. No, it doesn't. Like if you want to help with your trauma, Alan stuff, very, very good. I love Alan, lots of good stuff out there, but hers is a goodie. It's affordable. There's not 412 places left at that price. It's far less. That website hasn't been adjusted because it's the weekend. So that will double, but that's the only one that's going to double for now. Superpowers one, if you're going from sort of okay to great, like this money stuff is superpowers for most people. Like I'm not perfect around money. I've still got some tension and some issues. I still notice it when I try and sell you this, for example. I notice my breath change. But just getting to sort of reasonable at this has really helped me. And, we wouldn't have been able to do the conference had I not done that. We wouldn't have been able to do this event had I not done that. Yeah, that's work that really, if you do it internally, it helps you make more of a difference in the world. Yeah, I'm keeping 25 people in work during a really difficult economic time right now, and I'm very proud of that. Yeah. If you want to help other people, then the facilitators one is excellent. The tutorial groups, I think, are the big addition there. That's really, really helpful. Yeah, loads of other free stuff and the big library of all these recordings so that you don't have to watch them all over the weekend. So this link's below from Virginia. I will stay around for a private chat for some of you now. Let's have a little bit of time before my therapy session, which I cunningly booked in on the day that I'm teaching 5 sessions on trauma. Good self-care, Mr. Walsh. All right, good. The therapist I can afford because I have money. Yeah, very useful. All right. Good. Thank you, Virginia. Anything you want to add?
No, just there's still time for everyone to talk about this to one person. Think of a friend, maybe who's not doing so well about money, and get them over to watch these recordings. They won't be up forever, so there's still time. Use the links.
Do you have a broke hippie friend who needs a loving slap in the ass from Uncle Mark? Send him my way. I've helped so many of my broke hippie mates after yoga, after 5 rhythms. So many of them I've taken aside, sat them down and went, listen, it's not more spiritual being poor. What are we going to do? You've got kids now. We need to get you some money. I get frustrated with them, but people can change. Cool.
So I'll stop the recording now.
Yes. Oh, we're recording that. Fuck.
Do you want to stop the live stream as well?